Well, I'm sure by now you've seen Israel's latest act of terrorism. They attacked 6 humanitarian aid ships that are en route to Gaza to give them food and medical supplies. They sent commandos at 4:30 in the morning by helicopter to drop onto these ships, and they shot a bunch of people, killing 19 and injuring 50. And then they claim it's self-defense. They sent armed commandos to raid a ship and claim that they are on the defense. The ships were also in international waters. They shot one American woman in the face and now she's lost an eye. The IDF releases these senseless propaganda videos showing that some of the Israeli commandos got a beat down where the crowd rushed them and threw some of them off the first level of the boat and beat them down with plastic chairs and metal bars. So what? The people on the ships have a right to defend themselves. And when you send armed commandos on a boat illegally, when they're in international waters, trying to bring food and aid to people that are also illegally occupied and illegally sanctioned by Israel, Israel's the one breaking the law. I'm glad they beat down some Israeli soldiers. So much for the Israeli commandos and, I could take on 6 people at once. You can watch their own videos, and one guy can rush the first dude who falls down off his little cord, beats the crap out of him with his bare hands, throws him off. And these aren't trained fighters or anything, just run-of-the-mill humanitarian aid workers beating up fully armored and fully armed Israeli soldiers. The crew had a right to defend itself. Israel sent armored commandos in the middle of the night to raid the ship. And that in itself is an act of aggression. The crew wasn't looking for a fight. They didn't have any guns. They didn't have any sophisticated melee weapons. They just picked up what was around them and fought with what they had against Israeli terrorists. And it's funny that the IDF releases these propaganda videos in English trying to show, oh look, he has a chair. Oh look, he's throwing a rock and swinging a piece of wood at this guy holding a gun and charging on his boat from the air from a helicopter. Who cares? You can't justify shooting people because you can't justify raiding the ship to begin with, and you can't justify the illegal occupation of the Gaza Strip either, the illegal occupation of the West Bank, or the fact that you've shut down food and water from entering Gaza. You've turned it into an outdoor prison, starving millions of people. That's the whole reason the ships were there to begin with. It's not defense to raid a ship. Israel is weak and immoral. The footage is just something to laugh at and expose them. No one's going to accept that it's defense to shoot people, even if they are attacking you, when the whole reason they're attacking you is because you are invading them. Where have we seen that before? It mirrors the larger situation where Israel invades Palestine intent on destroying property and stealing land and murdering people. And when the Palestinians fight back, Israel claims to be defending itself from them and shoots kids throwing rocks that didn't want their homes to be demolished. What a bunch of lunatics the Israelis are, and their apologists are. And their own IDF puts this footage out. They actually think that this helps their case. These bastards raided peaceful humanitarian ships that were trying to break a blockade on Gaza that is illegal anyway. It doesn't matter how hard the passengers fought back or what they used. Israel threw the first punch by attempting to invade their ship. They easily could have contained them at port or negotiated with them on the ground with cameras rolling. But their hubris wouldn't allow that. And now because they've killed so many Turks who are a member of NATO, the Israelis are in hot water. Killing 20 people or injuring 50 people isn't a big deal. Israel does that all the time. It usually doesn't make the news. But this time they killed people who count. They killed people who have a voice. They can't just whitewash the press in Turkey and all these other, I think some 16 different nations at least. They don't control the press in the whole world, just the U.S. And you want to look and see how the U.S. media reported it? They reported 9 dead instead of 19, and they said that Israel was defending itself. That's what CNN said. That's what Fox said. Fox added that Al-Qaeda was on the ship. So did Le Monde. The CBC in Canada also 9 dead, self-defense. ABC said 10 dead, self-defense. CBS 10 dead in self-defense. And MSNBC said 9 dead in self-defense and tried to reproduce some grainy videos saying it was okay that we shot these people who were trying to bring aid to the absolutely desperate. And of course, Obama isn't doing squat all. He won't criticize Israel in the slightest. Israel won't even let 81-year-old professors enter their country to talk about what Israel is doing wrong. So here we have internationals doing the right thing, giving starving people food, and Israel, the party responsible for why the Gazans need aid to begin with, are the aggressor. They raided a ship with armed men, and they easily could have handled this at port. It's not illegal to bring Gaza aid. The ship was in international water. It's illegal to occupy Palestine and illegal to deny Gaza aid. Ignoring the law that is already breaking the law is not illegal. If I try to free slaves when slavery is already illegal, you can't arrest me for trying to set your slave free, much less for bringing him water, because slavery is already illegal. Screw Israel. And our mass media in America waited hours to do any reporting at all, minimized the death count by more than 50%, and said Israel was defending itself. Really? You attacked aid ships in international waters? Humanitarian aid ships. You didn't want them to get to Gaza? Why? Because it would be a crime to give people food and medical supplies? Oh, that would just be terrible. They're trying to drive Gazans out. They're trying to completely ethnically cleanse the West Bank. They have settlements all over the place in East Jerusalem, all over the West Bank. They have an apartheid wall that they've built that's not even on their border that cuts into the West Bank and steals territory there. In Gaza, it's prison conditions. They don't even have enough water to drink. The whole world knows this. The whole world sees this. But our mass media, they didn't mention about the conditions in Gaza or why the aid ships are there. All they said was that Israel went on these ships as defense and then shot these people and killed them as defense because these shipmates defended themselves from Israeli commandos. There was no context, no mention of occupation, no mention of the complete shutdown and stranglehold that Israel has on Gaza. Nothing. And it was uniform. Same exact story. And some even added the Al-Qaeda card in there. Wow. It's unbelievable. I'd just like to mention that this isn't the first time Israel's killed the innocents at sea, and I'm not going to go all the way back to the USS Liberty and that mess. That should be in another video, or go to my prior videos if you're interested in that. But I just want to say this, because this was a pretty unreported story, I feel like, at least in the US. Tell me if you heard about this. An Israeli container ship was involved in a hit and run where they ran over a Japanese fishing boat and killed 7 sailors. They're just regular guys out fishing. It was up near Hokkaido, and the Israelis denied it and tried to get away with it. But later in port in Korea, matching paint samples proved that the Israeli ship had hit the Japanese ship, and they were forced to apologize. It was in Kyoto News about the Israelis hitting the ship, and then it was in the Japan Times about how the Israelis tried to deny it, just like the Liberty. So, oh, it wasn't us. Then later, when it was proven true with the Liberty, they said, okay, well, we did it, but we thought it was an Egyptian boat, and that story doesn't fly at all. But this is clearly a Japanese boat. You know you ran into a ship. When you run over a ship and break it in half and kill all these people, you know you did it. They should have informed Japan right away, but they didn't. They tried to sneak away and act like it never happened. And the only reason they got caught is because in Korea, where they thought, oh, the Japanese won't be able to investigate this, the Koreans actually investigated it themselves and gave the information to Japan and showed that there was matching paint samples from the boat that the Japanese investigators collected and the Israeli ship. That's 7 innocent people dead. Can you imagine if Iran had done something like that? But that pales in comparison to killing 19 people on aid ships. Utterly disgusting. Furthermore, with the Japanese incident, the Israeli ship wasn't even supposed to be where it was. Probably that one was an accident, but the thing is, they tried to sail away and get away with it and deny that they had done anything, acted like they hadn't ran over anybody, that they hadn't rammed and murdered people, didn't try to save them or anything, just let them die out there in the ocean. Their families would never see them. That's what's disgusting. It's typical Israeli behavior, not just by the government and the army, but in general.